This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, September 4th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse gather on Capitol Hill to pressure Congress and the Justice Department to release all files. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
Florida is phasing out all childhood vaccine mandates in the state. I'm Haya Panjwani.
A federal judge reverses the Trump administration's cuts in funding research grants for Harvard. I'm Mike Hempen.
A call for RFK Jr. to be ousted. I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, mixed day for stocks yesterday as job openings in the U.S. tank. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
President Trump is floating the idea of sending the National Guard into another big city to help fight crime. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Conservative news network Newsmax is suing Fox News. I'm Ed Donahue.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Victims of abuse suffered at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein stood in the nation's capital with lawmakers Wednesday, urging Congress to pass legislation that would see the release of all the details of the government's investigation into the Epstein case. John Stolnis has more from Washington.
Shame on you. Shame on you for using our trauma to weaponize this moment. We are not going to be fooled by your trickery.
Slamming politicians, she says, have been covering up the abuse they suffered at the hands of Epstein. Sexual abuse survivor Haley Robeson was just a handful of women in front of the Capitol demanding Congress take action. Another victim, Ashley Rubright, says enough is enough.
We've been mocked, we've been doubted, we've been re-traumatized, while those responsible hide in secrecy. Why don't we deserve justice?
Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna and Republican Thomas Massie are teaming up to try and pass a discharge petition that would force the release of all documents by the Justice Department related to the case. Khanna says they need to see everything.
There is something that is rotten in Washington. Less than 1% of these files have been released. We are demanding today on the discharge petition that all of the files be released.
Taking questions in the Oval Office, President Trump was asked about the rally and the protest, and once again declared the Epstein controversy is a fabrication.
Thousands of pages of documents have been given, but it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
3 female Republicans, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert, have joined Massie and 212 Democrats calling for the information to be released.
I think it's shameful that this has been called a hoax. Hopefully today we can clear that up. This is not a hoax.
The Epstein files has long been a focus of many Trump supporters, believing the government is covering up the involvement of powerful people inside Washington and out in order to protect them. Republican House Oversight Chairman James Comer said Wednesday they plan to look into it too.
The House Oversight Committee is committed to providing transparency and accountability for these brave survivors and for the American people.
Khanna and Massie need 2 more Republicans to join their discharge petition in order to force it onto the floor of the House for a vote. John Stolnis, Washington.
It would be a first in the nation rule. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports that Florida's governor and the state's surgeon general are planning a full phase-out of all childhood vaccine mandates in the Sunshine State.
The Florida Department of Health, in partnership with the governor, is going to be working to end all vaccine mandates in Florida law. All of them. All of them.
Florida is phasing out all childhood vaccine mandates in the state. The move builds on Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' push to curb vaccine requirements and other health mandates from the COVID-19 pandemic.
Informed consent, making sure we're protecting parents' rights, and then also just being willing to challenge medical orthodoxy that's not supported by the data.
State Surgeon General Dr. Joseph Ladapo called current requirements in schools and elsewhere an immoral intrusion on people's rights bordering on, quote, slavery.
Who am I to tell you what your child should put in your body? I don't have that right. Your body is a gift from God. What you put into your body is because of your relationship with your body and your God. I don't have that right. Government does not have that right. They want you to believe they have that right.
He also said it hurts parents' ability to make health decisions for their children. The state health department can scrap its own rules for some vaccine mandates, but others would require action by the Florida legislature.
So the Florida Department of Health, we have some rules that we promulgated, not me, predecessors, that include, a handful, maybe a half a dozen vaccines that are mandated in Florida. So those are going to be gone for sure. So those are gone.
He didn't specify any particular vaccines, but repeated several times that the effort would end all of them. Florida would be the first state to eliminate so many vaccine mandates.
Who am I as a government or anyone else, or who am I as a man standing here now to tell you what you should put in your body?
I'm Haya Panjwani.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. It's the biggest sale of the year. All beds are on sale, limited time, only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. Employees at his own agency demanding that RFK Jr. resign. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. The Southwest could use some much-needed rain. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton with a forecast.
At the very least, the risk for thunderstorms becomes even more widespread through the end of the week as tropical moisture being drawn northward from Lorena, still moving off the Mexican coastline, sparks more wet weather. While the exact coverage of storms varies into tomorrow, the additional moisture in place should at least lead to more showers developing from southwestern New Mexico to southern and western Arizona, the far southern tip of Nevada, and interior southern California. Fortunately, a large portion of this area is in extreme to, in some cases, exceptional drought conditions, so any push of tropical moisture and downpours will provide beneficial rain as long as it doesn't fall so quickly onto the very dry ground as to lead to flooding instead. Other areas of wet weather will include the Florida Peninsula, which also remains within a zone of deep moisture that numerous thunderstorms developing today will be able to wring out in the form of downpours, even as much of the rest of the southeast dries out. However, a cold front trying to make it to the eastern seaboard brings a widespread risk for showers and storms from Pennsylvania to Ohio, southwest to Tennessee and North Carolina, then north and east to the nation's capital, with some places in line for the first measurable rain in at least a couple of weeks through tonight. Behind that front, absolutely autumnal air arrives in more places from the Midwest into the Great Lakes and parts of the plains, and a frost risk for some in the upper Midwest to start today leads to widespread highs of up to 20 degrees below the historical average from the eastern Dakotas through far northeastern Oklahoma, right to the Ohio River and toward the Great Lakes, where showers may bring the risk for waterspouts. In Frostburg, Maryland, some sun leads to afternoon showers and a thunderstorm that may be gusty, high 73. For International Falls, Minnesota, today looks cloudy and cool, the high just 53. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. A federal judge has ruled on the Trump administration's more than $2 billion worth of funding cuts to Harvard University. With a closer look, here's correspondent Mike Hempen.
A federal judge reverses the Trump administration's cuts of more than $2.6 billion in funding research grants for Harvard. U.S. District Judge Allison Burroughs has sided with the Ivy League school, ruling the cuts amount to illegal retaliation for Harvard's rejection of White House demands for changes to its policies. The ruling reverses a series of funding freezes that later became outright cuts. If it stands, it promises to revive Harvard's sprawling research operation and hundreds of projects that lost federal money. Harvard's lawsuit accuses the Trump administration of waging a retaliation campaign against the university after it rejected a series of demands in an April letter from a federal anti-Semitism task force. I'm Mike Hempen.
Current and former Health and Human Services staffers are calling for the agency secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., to resign. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
More than 1,000 current and former Health and Human Services employees penned an open letter this week calling for RFK Jr. to either resign or be fired from his post as HHS secretary. Names of the staffers represented in that letter weren't made public, but the call comes not long after the CDC director was fired and several other officials with that agency resigned. The letter accused Kennedy of endangering the nation's health. It pointed to a recent decision by the FDA to rescind emergency approvals that made the COVID vaccines available for young kids. It also cites the rise of, quote, political ideologues who pose as scientific experts in jobs with oversight on vaccines. I'm Clayton Neville.
Fresh numbers on the job opportunity and labor turnover report when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with a check of Thursday business.
Wall Street opens this morning after a mixed day for the major averages yesterday. The Dow was down slightly, but the Nasdaq popped up 1%. Job openings in the U.S. in July, the lowest in 5 years. In the new job opportunities and labor turnover report, here's CNBC's Sarah Eisen with Stolnis Alternative Assets' Dan Greenhouse on CNBC.
Job openings fell to 7.2 million in July, so it's more evidence that we're in the cooling direction.
It has meaningfully slowed down. We know that there have been job losses among Hispanic-oriented industries like leisure and hospitality, and a couple of companies, Wingstop, Ross Stores, a couple of others, have noted a slowdown in that portion of the economy. So there are things going on under the hood that you have to pay attention to.
Holiday spending expected to drop 5% this year, the worst pullback since the pandemic, according to consulting firm PwC, as consumers struggle with rising inflation. But somebody's spending, because a lot of people bought a lot of new cars in August.
Strong numbers for the month of August. Hyundai, Toyota, Ford, all up year over year. Honda, the one outlier, down 4.2%. What's driving all of this strength? Not all of it, but a good chunk of it. Strong demand for electric vehicles. Remember, the EV tax credit, it goes away at the end of September. That's $7,500 from the federal government. That won't be available come October. And as a result, the market share for EVs in August likely to be 12% of sales.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau. Chipotle today has carne asada in restaurants for a limited time. Here's CNBC's Kate Rogers with CNBC anchor Brian Sullivan.
Carne asada apparently is coming back to Chipotle, but cattle futures are at record high prices. The price of steak is at record highs. Is now the time to bring back carne asada because steak is really, really expensive.
So this is a hugely popular menu item. You know, you can get in most parts of the country an entree at Chipotle for about $10 before taxes. So depending on where you are, that is the price tag. And you did also hear from Chipotle executives this previous quarter that you did see some trade down to chicken entrees, for example, from a beef.
Gold hit another new record high yesterday. It's 29th of the year. People sometimes buy gold as a hedge when they're uncertain about everything else. It closed at $3,635 an ounce. If you had bought a 1-ounce gold bar at Costco last year, it would be worth 32% more right now. That's a pretty good return. NBC has already sold out of commercial time for next February's Super Bowl. NBC's a sister network to CNBC, and the season starts tonight with the Eagles hosting the Cowboys. Also on today's watch list, we get a look at private sector job creation with the ADP employment report.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, conservative television networks battle each other in court after these messages. President Trump is looking at sending federal law enforcement and troops into another urban area, this time the largest city in a Republican-led state. Correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
President Trump is floating the idea of sending the National Guard into another big city to help fight crime. Troops are already here in Washington. The president said he's ready to send them to Chicago and Baltimore. And perhaps next,
you have New Orleans, which has a crime problem.
A Democrat-run city in a GOP-led state. New Orleans City Council President J.P. Morrell says the president's suggestion is ridiculous, a solution to a problem that does not exist. City leaders say crime rates in New Orleans have dropped sharply this year. Violent crime in May was down 20% compared to last year. Sagar Magani, Washington.
TV competitors each day, both conservative, both popular. Now, Fox and Newsmax will soon face each other in a court of law. Correspondent Ed Donahue explains.
Conservative news network Newsmax is suing Fox News. Newsmax claims Fox has tried to maintain its market dominance through intimidation and exclusionary business practices to stifle competition. The network claims Fox tried to block it from platforms like Hulu and Sling and pressured guests to avoid appearing on Newsmax. A network attorney said the law is clear. Competition, not coercion, should decide what news channels Americans can watch. Fox says Newsmax is trying to place blame for its competitive failures in the marketplace to chase headlines simply because they can't attract viewers. The suit comes as Fox's opinion programming over the summer has consistently beaten broadcast networks ABC, CBS, and NBC in primetime. Ratings for Newsmax aren't even close. I'm Ed Donahue.
America in the Morning for Thursday, September 4th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour,
President Trump is floating the idea of sending the National Guard into another big city to help fight crime. Sagar Magani, Washington.
The vice president visits victims and their families in Minneapolis. I'm Clayton Neville.
President Trump may try to shake up the New York City mayor's race. I'm Sue Aller.
Google's Chrome gets a favorable ruling from a federal judge. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Who's who in the cast of Dancing with the Stars Season 34? I'm Kevin Carr.
oil companies' job cuts, grand jury saying no to the Justice Department, and the president's emergency Supreme Court appeal. We're back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. It's been a while since we've heard the word frost in the forecast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton with the outlook.
The northern tier of the nation, particularly parts of the upper Midwest, will be in line for the risk for frost this morning, thanks to the combination of fairly light wind and cold, not cool air for this time of year behind a powerful cold front. It's not exactly an ideal setup, as some places mainly near the Canadian border have had more clouds around than would strongly favor frost, and other areas have had a bit of wind. But for those places with a mainly clear sky and light wind, temperatures in the mid to upper 30s may promote frost from northern Wisconsin to central and northern Minnesota, even the western part of Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Later today, these same zones and point southward through eastern Kansas, much of Kentucky and Ohio, and the majority of the Midwest and Great Lakes regions in general end up with rather October-like highs from 15 to 20 degrees below historical averages for early September, and showers over the Great Lakes may bring the risk for waterspouts as well. Showers and areas of steady rain will extend into North Dakota. As opposed to just showers, today's thunderstorms should be mainly confined to 3 areas. In the east, the same cold front that has brought the fall fields of the Midwest tries to push through the interior Northeast and the Appalachians, bringing with it showers and thunderstorms from Tennessee northward through much of Pennsylvania. Some steady rain with embedded thunder becomes more likely instead from western to northern parts of New York State. The Florida Peninsula sits under a plume of enhanced moisture yet again, helping to enhance thunderstorms there as well. And in the southwest, some tropical moisture in association with, but still well to the north of Lorena off the Mexican coast, brings at least some spotty thunderstorms through the day today, especially the afternoon, from interior California through the Four Corners. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. More details are being learned about the attack authorized by the Trump administration on suspected Venezuelan drug smugglers in the Caribbean Sea on Tuesday. Washington correspondent Sagar Magani reports 11 people were killed in what the government's calling the targeting of narco-terrorists affiliated with a notorious gang that President Trump says gets its marching orders from the president of Venezuela.
We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela. and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela, so we took it out.
The Trump administration is defending this week's strike on a boat operated by an alleged Venezuelan gang. President Trump says the boat was carrying massive amounts of drugs heading to the U.S. to kill people, and the strike sent cartels a message.
A lot of other people won't be doing it again when they watch that tape. They're going to say, let's not do this.
Interdiction doesn't work because these drug cartels, what they do is they know they're going to lose, 2% of their cargo. They bake it into their economics. What will stop them is when you blow them up, when you get rid of them.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says simply stopping the boat and capturing those on board wouldn't be enough.
What will stop them is when you blow them up, when you get rid of them.
In Mexico, Rubio says the president acted under his authority.
Instead of interdicting it on the president's orders, he blew it up. And it'll happen again. Maybe it's happening right now. I don't know. But the point is, the president of the United States is going to wage war on narco-terrorist organizations. This one was operating in international waters, headed towards the United States to flood our country with poison. And under President Trump, those days are over.
And it will happen again.
We're not going to sit back anymore and watch these people sail up and down the Caribbean like a cruise ship.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
After several private meetings, Vice President J.D. Vance says he and his wife were touched by the families of victims in last week's mass shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church in Minnesota that left 2 students dead and a number of others injured. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Vice President J.D. Vance was joined by Second Lady Usha Vance in Minneapolis 1 week after a shooter opened fire inside Annunciation Catholic School. The couple was greeted by families of the victims.
Will you please promise me, as a father and a Catholic, that you will earnestly support the study of what is wrong with our culture, that we are the country that has the worst mass shooter problem?
Harry Kaiser's daughter was injured in the shooting and had several asks of the vice president.
Will you please promise to pursue, despite powerful lobbies, some common sense bipartisan legislation as a starting point, so we can come out of our corners and find the values that we share, so that this time some progress is made?
And Leah Kaiser had words of encouragement for Vance.
Vice President Vance, you have enormous authority. Please use this moment to move your feet and transcend our political divides to promote peace and unity and hope.
The Vances visited Annunciation Church and stopped at a makeshift memorial outside to deliver flowers. Reporters asked the vice president about the mental health of the 23-year-old shooter who killed himself that day.
Certainly we should be investigating people who are planning on targeting kids, and I think that one of the unfortunate lessons of this particular shooting is that this person who showed clear signs of derangement slipped through the cracks.
But Vance said right now,
we should talk less about the crazy person who took these children from us. We should talk about these kids, their hopes and their dreams, and the fact that they had a full life ahead of them that was cut short.
Before leaving Minneapolis, Vance said he was moved by his conversations with injured victims and their families. I'm Clayton Neville.
There are reports that President Trump is working behind the scenes to have a hand in the selection of the next New York City mayor. Sue Aller reports that Trump advisors have discussed a job in the administration for current New York City Mayor Eric Adams if he were to end his re-election campaign.
The race for New York City mayor is heating up. Reports from the New York Times suggest that top Trump administration officials have floated offering Mayor Eric Adams a high-level federal job if he drops out. Mayor Adams did not deny the talks, but says he won't comment on private conversations.
I've been getting job offers for the last year and a half. Even in the midst of all this crisis, people like my leadership and how I turn around the city.
The move is seen as a way to clear the crowded field where Adams is polling in 4th place. His exit could open the lane for former Governor Andrew Cuomo, viewed as the strongest challenger to frontrunner Zohran Mamdani.
An affront to what makes so many of us proud to be Americans, that we choose our own leaders, not that they get to pick themselves, not that they get to be picked by the President of the United States.
Mamdani held an emergency press conference accusing the president of trying to sway the race.
We have learned what New Yorkers have long suspected, that Andrew Cuomo is Donald Trump's choice to be the next mayor of this city. We feel just as confident as we did yesterday that we will win this race in November.
The Times article also says the Trump team has made a similar offer to Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa.
I want the people to decide, not the billionaires. Let the people vote for the next mayor.
According to the Times, Cuomo has denied and downplayed any communications with President Trump regarding the New York City mayoral race. In New York, I'm Sue Aller.
When we return on America in the Morning, among the stories we're covering, Google keeps Chrome, but with a twist. A ruling from a federal judge after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. In the nation's capital, prosecutors are struggling mightily to convince Washington, D.C. grand juries to indict people arrested in the Trump administration's crime crackdowns, including for those who have threatened National Guard troops and even threatened President Trump. Correspondent Ben Thomas reports.
Federal grand jurors in the nation's capital have refused to indict two people charged separately with threatening to kill President Trump. It's rare for a grand jury to balk at returning an indictment, but it's happened at least 7 times since Trump last month ordered a surge in patrols by federal agents and National Guard troops in Washington. One case involved a man charged with throwing a sandwich at a federal agent. After the grand jury refused to indict, prosecutors charged him with a misdemeanor. While the proceedings are secret, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro says a grand jury's refusal to indict somebody for threatening to kill the president is the essence of a politicized jury and evidence of a broken system in D.C. Ben Thomas, Washington.
A new court ruling says that President Trump cannot use the Alien Enemies Act to deport Venezuelan gang members. Details from correspondent Lisa Dwyer.
A federal appeals court has ruled that President Donald Trump cannot use an 18th century wartime law to speed the deportations of people his administration accuses of membership in a Venezuelan gang. 2 judges on a 3-judge panel of the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals are agreeing with immigrant rights groups that Trump improperly invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 against Trinidad. The majority found that the gang was not a legitimate target for a law that's only been used 3 times before in history, all during declared wars. The case will likely end up at the U.S. Supreme Court. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Another U.S. oil giant announces deep job cuts. Correspondent Jennifer King reports that ConocoPhillips is planning to sever ties with nearly a quarter of their entire workforce.
Shares of ConocoPhillips fell on Wednesday after news that the oil and gas company said it plans to lay off up to a quarter of its workforce as part of a cost-cutting effort. Anonymous sources told Reuters that CEO Ryan Lance detailed the plans in a video message. Lance says the company needs fewer roles and cited rising costs, but expressed confidence that the outlook would eventually grow brighter for crude producers. A spokesperson confirmed the layoffs will impact 20 to 25% of the company's workers worldwide, amounting to several thousand jobs. ConocoPhillips completed its acquisition of Marathon Oil last year and in August agreed to sell its Anadarko Basin assets. Their second quarter earnings beat Wall Street expectations but were down 15% from the same period last year. It's the latest energy giant to slash jobs, with Chevron also in the midst of reducing its workforce by up to 20%. U.S. drillers are contending with falling prices, inflation, and 50% tariffs on imported steel. I'm Jennifer King.
The Trump administration has officially asked the U.S. Supreme Court to quickly decide whether he has the power to impose broad tariffs under a law designated for use during times of emergency. The Justice Department is appealing a ruling by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit last week that the president had exceeded his presidential authority. The tariffs Trump authorized are still in effect and will remain in place at least until October 14th under the appeals court ruling. A heartwarming display of humanity has gifted an American boxing icon with an Olympic gold medal. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh explains.
Roy Jones Jr. has the gold medal from the 1988 Olympics, thanks to a gift from the South Korean fighter who defeated him in the controversial boxing match. Park Si-hun traveled to Jones's ranch in Pensacola, Florida 2 years ago and gave the Hall of Famer the medal that Jones seemed to have earned in a bout most observers outside of the judges believed he dominated. The news was revealed Wednesday in a video posted on Jones's YouTube page. Park was awarded a 3-2 decision in the light middleweight title bout in Seoul. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Google got some good news for a change from a federal judge as they get to keep their Chrome browser, but there is a catch. Chuck Palm with details in today's Tech Report.
A federal judge ruling says that Google does not have to sell Chrome. Instead, Google must share search data with rivals like Kagi and end exclusive deals that lock the search engine as the default on installed devices. The U.S. Department of Justice has pushed hard to break up Google's search monopoly, demanding that Chrome be sold, calling it a gateway to the internet, and attempt to curb its 89.5 search dominance, according to StatsCounter. Chrome has 3.4 billion users and is a data goldmine, helping to keep Google's empire intact. The data sharing deal has limits and is enforced for 6 years, but actually could spark competition. And according to Bloomberg, Alphabet stock jumped 7% on the news of the favorable ruling. And let's not forget that Perplexity's bid to buy Chrome for $34.5 billion was shot down earlier last month. For more, follow me on X at Chuck Palm.
Thursday Sports is in. Here's America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
Baseball Wednesday, the Rays won their 6th straight 9-4 over the Mariners to keep their AL wildcard hopes alive. Tampa Bay now 2.5 games behind Seattle for that final wildcard. Diamondbacks shut out the Rangers 2-0. Zach Gallen and the half pints with a 5-hitter, while hard luck loser Jack Leiter and his butane buddies allowed just 3 hits. Pirates blanked the Dodgers 3-0. 5 Bucco Arms combined on a 5-hitter. Pittsburgh's league-leading 17th shutout of the season. Brewers scored 5 times in the first and beat the Phillies 6-3. Blue Jays belted 5 home runs to overpower the Reds 13-9. Orioles went deep 4 times, including back-to-back Jackson III to complete their sweep of the Padres 7-5. Nasim Nunez hit the first 2 homers of his career to lead the Nationals over the Marlins 10-5.
I really proved myself, right? Like, I have to be the one to believe that I could hit, so when you go out there and see it, gives you a little bit more belief.
Wins for the Giants, Astros, Guardians, Tigers, Braves, Cardinals, White Sox, and Angels. U.S. Open tennis, American Amanda Anisimova upset 2-seed Iga Swiatek to make the women's semifinals. She'll meet Naomi Osaka tonight. 4-seed Jessica Pegula takes on number 1 and defending champ Aryna Sabalenka in this evening's other semifinal. Men's top seed Yannick Sinner continued his title defense with a straight set win. Sinner will face Canada's Felix Auger-Aliassime in the semifinals tomorrow after number 2 Carlos Alcaraz meets all-timer Novak Djokovic. And the 106th season of the NFL begins tonight when the Super Bowl champion Eagles host the Dallas Cowboys. That's Thursday Sports.
Thank you, sir. When we return on America in the Morning, the ketamine queen gets her day in court after these messages. A New England state may set the scene for a destination wedding for Taylor Swift. The New York Post is reporting that the pop singer and her football star fiancé Travis Kelce are planning a wedding next summer at the home she owns in the seaside village of Watch Hill in Rhode Island. It's reported that Swift's $17.5 million mansion is undergoing a nearly $2 million renovation. No date or location for the Swift and Kelce nuptials have been announced by the couple. Guilty, the plea from the so-called ketamine queen in connection with the 2023 death of actor Matthew Perry. Correspondent Ed Donahue is following proceedings.
A woman branded as the ketamine queen pleaded guilty in Los Angeles to selling Friends star Matthew Perry the drug that killed him. Jasveen Sangha pleaded guilty to 5 federal charges. She told the judge she didn't know if all or some of the ketamine she sold to a co-defendant was going to Perry.
She feels horrible about all of this. I mean, nobody wants to be in the chain of
causation, for lack of a better term.
Sanga's attorney, Mark Garagos, says the government was turning the responsibility in this case on its head.
Why is she in custody and the people, whether it's medical professionals or the people who were actually ingesting the drug or the people who are administering the drug, are out?
Matthew Perry's mother and stepfather were in court. Sanga is the fifth and final defendant charged in Perry's overdose death to admit guilt. I'm Ed Donahue.
Time to put on your dancing shoes as the new contestants have been announced for season 34 of Dancing with the Stars. Entertainment correspondent Kevin Carr gives it a twirl.
It's that time of year for a new set of stars to start dancing on television. The cast of Dancing with the Stars Season 34 was announced on Good Morning America yesterday. The competitors include sports stars, singers, influencers, reality TV stars, a late-night comedy sidekick, one of the Goonies, and a girl who's met the world.
Get ready for Jordan Childs. Get ready to rumba with Alex Earl, Scott Hoying. It's Lauren Jareggi. It's Jen Affleck. And Whitney Levitt. It's Elaine Hendricks. Get ready to cha-cha with Baron Davis. Get ready to jive with Hilaria Baldwin. It's Dylan Efron.
Some of the more notable contestants are Conan O'Brien's right-hand man, Andy Richter.
Here we go, GMA.
Actor Corey Feldman.
I ain't missing a thing. I'm the comeback king.
Crocodile hunter Steve Irwin's son, Robert.
I can handle a snake, but can I handle a salsa?
And Topanga from Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World, Danielle Fishel.
Now, it's all about Girl Meets Mirrorball. Let's dance.
Alfonso Ribeiro and Julianne Hough return as hosts, while Carrie Ann Inaba, Bruno Tonioli, and Derek Hough return as judges. Season 34 of Dancing with the Stars premieres on ABC on Disney Plus on September 16th, with new episodes every Tuesday and the next day on Hulu. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Thursday, September 4th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.